Do you want to know how to eliminate all of the signature tone from this bass and make it usable in way more settings? You come to the right place. Okay, first of all, let me combat some criticisms. I know that there are a lot of you out there who have the stance of, why would I spend all of this money to get this bass when I don't like what it does, and I'm gonna spend even more time and more energy to mod it to make it sound like something else when I could have bought the something else in the first place. Totally get it. I'm not telling you to go out and buy one of these and then gut it and spend a bunch of time and money making it sound like a Spector or a Gibson or whatever. Not saying that. If you like the Rick and how it is on its own stock straight off the shelf, then by all means have fun playing it stock and straight off the shelf. I'm saying that if you already have one of these, whether it was inherited or a gift or who knows why you have it, but you have it, maybe it's not quite working out for you, but it's comfortable, or who knows what your story is, I'm just here to show you some alternatives. You can take it or leave it. So this mod was kind of inspired by 3 different Rick players. The first being Lemmy. There's an old picture of him with a Thunderbird pickup in the neck position of his Rick. And possibly even more notably is Cliff Burton with his Mudbucker in the neck, his jazz bass in the bridge, and of course the guitar pickup in the literal bridge of his. But either way, Mudbucker and jazz. So that being said, this is my current iteration of my Rick mod series. It looks like it's becoming. To put it simply, it's a Thunderbird pickup in the neck and a jazz pickup in the bridge. To put it a little more specifically, it's an EMG active TBDC ceramic Thunderbird pickup in the neck and an EMG active J pickup in the bridge with a 2-band EQ, pickup selector, 2 volumes, and 1 jack. Alright, so this mod as is looks kind of extreme, but is fairly subtle and totally reversible with just the purchase of a new pickguard. So the first thing, of course, is to drill the holes to mount the jazz pickup in this little plastic plate they have down there. With the Thunderbird pickup, without the pickguard, the cavity underneath is just about perfect to fit it. You don't need to do any kind of routing or anything of that nature. You just have to drill 2 holes because this pickup mounts straight into the wood where the stock one mounts to the pickguard, which obviously I had to cut away. If you look up close, it's not the greatest cut. I did it freehand with a Dremel. And I was a little heavy on one side, so I threw a little gaff tape in there to try to make it look less obvious from a distance. Now, the one thing I have not done yet, because I'm not entirely sure I want to commit to this as is, we'll get into that a little bit more in a minute, but there is no battery box in here. And there also isn't really a lot of room underneath the pickguard to fit 1, let alone 2 9-volt batteries in here. So what I've been doing is I've been using this. This is the ES918 from EMG. Basically the way it works is you plug in your instrument with a stereo TRS cable into the input and then a regular cable from the output to your amp. And by plugging your bass in with the stereo cable, the pedal will supply power to your pickups or your preamp or whatever you have in here that would otherwise need a 9-volt battery, the pedal handles. And this little switch on the side lets you select between 9 or 18 volts. Every sample in this video is the 18-volt setting because, in my opinion, it sounds much better. So let's start with this TBDC, right? We're familiar with the DC pickup, the EMG active dual coil ceramic monster behemoth of a pickup. You find them in pretty much any bass that has an EMG soap bar. Chances are it's a DC. Whether it's a Schecter, a Spector, a Jackson, you know, they're in a lot of like metal basses, even though in my humble opinion, they're one of those more than just metal kind of products, which hopefully we're gonna prove here. So it's shaped like a Thunderbird pickup, but inside it's the active DC soap bar, and on its own, sounds like this. So obviously, like I said a minute ago, this is a gigantic pickup, but what makes it even more gigantic is when you move it a little bit closer to the neck, it's picking up a different part of the string, there's different sonic information, and let's just say there is no lack in the sub information of this pickup. It is insanely huge. And then of course, the fact that it's active and ceramic means that there's gonna be some top end information up there that may or may not work for you. The cool thing about that is whether you have an active EQ like I've got, you can roll the treble down, or you can go to your bass amp, roll the treble down, problem solved. Now, in my experience, which again I realize is one person's limited experience, yours might be different, I have found that this type of pickup in this position is obviously going to suit itself really well towards like dub reggae kind of stuff. And of course, you know, you got pop and R&B and similar stuff where you, again, need to just shake the foundation and hold the low end down. These excel at that as well. And the one thing that we didn't capture, but I found also works really well, especially in the case of like the Mudbucker, is like old school driven classic rock, to where you kind of pump the mids, pump the gain just a little bit to where it's slightly pushing and overdriving. And that just gives you, I mean, it's that Jack Bruce tone, like that's that early Cream sound. This is obviously a modern take on it, so you're gonna wanna do some EQ tweaks, treble down, mids up, bass to taste. There's definitely a vibe and a character to a big humbucker at the neck. And then moving down, of course, we've got the J pickup. This is the LJ, which just means long J. There's a short and a long, because most jazz basses, the sizing's different from neck to bridge. Doesn't matter, the internals are all the same. And again, the cool thing, kind of like the neck pickup, it's shifted a little more this way, you know, standard Rick placement. Whereas, you know, on a jazz bass, it's a little bit closer to the bridge, jazz bass, PJ, whatever. You know, pick up here, pick up there. Either way, this has been shifted, again, towards the neck to where it's almost pretty close to where like a P pickup would be. Obviously not exactly, but it's not in the traditional jazz bridge location. So when you do want to solo it, it's not quite as thin and nasally as it can be on a jazz bass. There's a little bit more beef to it. It's, I mean, this is going to be like, yeah, no shit, but it's like, it's kind of halfway between soloed P and soloed J in the bridge. Either way, here's a couple tones. Let me know what you think. Okay, and where it gets interesting is both of these pickups on at the same time, pickup selector in the middle, volumes at 10, EQ to taste, which, by the way, fun fact, a DC in the neck and a J in the bridge is the Thomann signature set. They're both in a soap bar cap. and obviously his bass is going to have them put in different locations, but a DC dual coil humbucker at the neck and a single coil jazz at the bridge is the signature Thomann sound. Now, in the case of the Rick, having the DC at the neck and the jazz in the bridge at its specific locations yields a pretty interesting character to it. So it's sort of kind of got some of the hallmarks of any other dual pickup bass. Again, locations are going to vary, models are going to vary. But the thing that I found interesting is there are times when this combination is the absolute wrong choice for the job. There was one tone that we did, I didn't even bother to record it through the Anagram because it was so lackluster that I thought this isn't even going to fit in here. Here's a quick clip of it on its own with just the pickups. It was the first tone that we had recorded, and it kind of got me like, oh no, what have I done? You know? But, however, the next song that we didn't change a damn thing on the controls or the pickup selector, and it was perfect. Like, the bass just got out of the way of the mix, and it filled in the spaces that you wanted it to fill in. All of the phase cancellation, mid-range dip, and all of that stuff that happens on a dual pickup instrument came together beautifully, and it sounds so good. I'm so enamored by this tone. Again, depending on who you are and how you play and your touch and your flavor and your songs and all that sort of thing, sometimes it can sound like a slightly thicker jazz bass in a way. I've got a couple basses on the wall that have splittable pickups. So the Thunderbird and the Warwick Corvette. In one position, they're a dual coil, and then in another switch position, they're a single coil. And both of those basses, I love it when the neck is dual coil and the bridge is single coil. That's just like, for my touch, that is the sound. Now, maybe if I would have had time to record sounds for this video, we would have seen that. But as it stands, I never got around to filming myself playing this bass with these two pickups, which, not a huge deal. I think we've got all the pun intended bases covered for this one. Point is, I love that tone for those instruments. I don't fully love it here. But the good news is that EMG offers a variety of different magnet configurations in the Thunderbird cap. And I also happen to have almost all of them from that Thunderbird pickup video that I did 3-4 years, however long ago that was. I still have all these in a drawer. So I popped the DC out and I put the TBP in, which is the standard EMG ceramic P-bass pickup, inside of a Thunderbird cap. And it sounded like this. And the funny part is when Dave and I were recording, I was swapping out pickups and, you know, we landed on basically TBP and J. And I remember I'm like, wow, damn, that sounds really good. And he's like, yeah, who would have thought? A PJ sounded great. I'm like, Yeah, of course. So, PJ, tried and true, obviously, sounded pretty good in here, but curiosity got the better of me, and I had to try Dual J, which leads me to my third and final and possibly least notable Rick player, but my third inspiration for this project. This is Rob Trujillo playing a Rick with 2 EMG J pickups, which again, this essentially is, just one's in a TB cap. But I gotta say, of all the 3 combinations that we tried, the TBDC, the TBP, and the TBJ, my God, that's a lot of initials. The TBJ, or basically a dual jazz setup, to my ear sounds the best. Now, of course, the DC on its own, just the neck pickup, is gonna do things that the other 2 cannot do, so there's obviously merit in that. The TBP on its own was probably the most usable solo tone, the most versatile, that if you just flicked it to the neck pickup, obviously it's a P bass, it's gonna get you through just about all of them. But with this one, with the 2 J's in the middle position, the neck position is still not bad. It's a little bit thinner than the P, but together, so good. They're just having these pickups matched sounds awesome. So I mentioned earlier that I'm not 100% sold on this setup as it stands, which, by the way, I skipped this a minute ago. The very first iteration of this TBJ was passive. It was a TBHZ and a JHZ. I didn't care for it. It sounded off to me. That being said, the jazz pickup, passive jazz pickup soloed in this position doesn't sound tremendously different than, you know, what you'd expect a Rick to sound like in this position. It's a little different, but it didn't wipe the character away. This kind of wipes the majority of the Rick character away, which again could be a merit or a detriment depending on who you are and what you need. This is the long way of saying that if it was just me and it was just my only bass and I was out there doing a bunch of gigs and sessions, yeah, I would do this. It gives me everything that I like about a Spector with the cool look of the Rick. And it's just, I don't know, it's just more versatile all around. It's good for most things. So yeah, that's what I would do. I would call EMG and say, hey, could you make me a custom TW that's all ceramic, not ceramic steel? Pop a J in here, call it a day. Install a battery box and, you know, obviously 2-band EQ, all that sort of stuff, but then call it a day. But the real world that we live in, I run a bass channel and this is my only Rick bass. And if I'm showing a product, whether it's an amp or a pedal or what have you, and I need to show you what it sounds like with a Rick, this probably ain't gonna cut it for that purpose. The previous passive EMG mini hums that I had in here, you can watch that video wherever it's at. I think those do cut it. Again, they're slightly different, but they're not so dramatically different like this is that it wipes the entire character away. It just gives it a different seasoning. But that being said, I'm also not 100% sold on going back to those pickups yet either, mostly because this jazz pickup in this position for the thumb rest, so comfortable. Instead of that mini hum with the little screw and the way it was before, it was just like you couldn't rest your thumb anywhere on it. And then if you're an up here rester, the TB's comfortable too. But stay tuned for part 3 because there's gonna be a part 3. Yeah, I think I can say it. Offbeat Guitars have already leaked it, so there's a new EMG pickup coming soon, any day now. Should be at my doorstep, hopefully any day now. They're Bartolini-sized pickups, and according to what I've been told, they are unlike anything EMG has released up to this point. They're a completely different coil. Nothing you've ever heard from their line sounds like this, so I'm curious to put those in here for a couple reasons. One, I just want to test the new pickup in various locations, so I asked them to send me 2 sets. I've got a Tribe bass that's got Aguilar Super Doubles in it. We're going to put them in there. And then just for fun, I'm going to put them in here too. But this cavity here where the jazz is, you can see, I'm looking at myself on the monitor, you can see the mounting screws. Obviously there's some space in there, so if this pickup fits, which I think it's going to after some rough measurements, quick rough measurements, I think it'll drop right in and fill this whole cavity and look like it was made for it. And then should pop in here pretty easily as well. So once those pickups get here, they're going in here and hopefully they sound good enough to stay. And by good enough, I mean true enough, not so dramatically different like this, that it can still be passable as a Rick despite having some different seasoning on it. If that's the case, they will remain. If not, we're going to try a couple other things. I might even try passive jazz bass pickups because, again, I love that thumb rest. And I think that the jazz bass, being a single coil pickup, particularly in the passive, shouldn't be too much of a jump to the left that it's like a huge deal. But either way, we're definitely going to have a part 3, may have a part 4, and then may potentially put it back to the mini hums. But yeah, so for now, that's the TBJ version of the Rick. Hope you liked it. Hopefully you learned something. Again, like I said in the beginning, these videos are for the people who already own one of these and are maybe unhappy with it. Not, I currently don't have one, let me go buy a brand new one for whatever outrageous price they are and then do all this stuff. That's not what I'm advocating here. If you like the Rick and you want the Rick and you love what the Rick does, then by all means, love and cherish the Rick. If you already have one, not even going to say it again. Man, some of you guys really bring out the worst in me. A lot of you guys are actually really cool, to be fair. Most of you guys are really cool, but it's always human nature that you get 2 assholes and that's all you can think of. Well, let me make the next video of telling those sons of bitches. Anyway, most of you have been cool. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and let me know what you thought. Let me know if you do any Rick mods. Let me know if you want to try something like this. All that sort of stuff. And I think that's all I have to say, so be safe, don't drill a hole in the back of your bass, and I'll see you later.